Free beer and hot wings in the morning. Grand Rapids rocks all day. 97.9 GRD rocks.
97.9 GRD rocks. It's the Free Beer and Hot Wings Show. Partly to mostly cloudy today. Some scattered showers. 66 the high. It's about 55 downtown GR. Yesterday at about this time, we played the news story. Turns out it was the second of at least three from Fox 17. About a Zeeland woman's home. She's a realtor. She and her family doing everything right with their home. But an accounting error by Wells Fargo made everything go off the rails, and she spent a decade fighting with them, and then it progressed in spite of numerous instances where she was told, yeah, it's fine. Okay, we got it. Yep. No worries. And then she did the next bill that to the point where she ended up having to pay extra money to try to keep her home that she should have never been paying.
She's on the phone for 12 hours a day.
Still lost her home.
Dealing with this.
Just disgusting.
So yesterday, and we're going to talk to Gretchen in a moment. Now, yesterday, we had learned that there was going to be a third installment of this news story. Mm-hmm. And it was going to be about the next fight that she's going to be involved in to try to keep her home. This is that from Fox 17.
After they had foreclosed and served me with eviction, and they said, oh, sorry for any inconvenience. Inconvenience? You're taking my home away because you messed up, not me.
She is frustrated, a successful single mother who's made a living in real estate only to see the market that she once worked in betray her. Now she is just days away from losing a home that she says is her entire life savings. Gretchen Malotke's twisted nightmare of lost paperwork, lost payments, and ultimately foreclosure is a mortgage mess. Unfortunately, that's not uncommon. But she is not fighting this alone. A Wells Fargo whistleblower is taking on cases like hers one at a time.
Tonight in part 3 of this Problem Solvers investigation, Fox 17's Cassandra Arsenal takes a closer look at how that whistleblower is working to make the people responsible be held accountable for this kind of tragedy.
Beth Jacobson made national headlines in 2012 working with the Department of Justice for exposing Wells Fargo's efforts to target low-income African-American communities in Baltimore for shoddy subprime loans. Now, Jacobson knew
Is there anything Wells Fargo can't be awful at?
No.
No,
there's not.
No,
I mean,
and it's because,
historic fine.
Yeah, it's the industry that they've created. We learned nothing from 6, 7, 8 years ago.
No.
Oh, no. Well, that's not actually go in there and make sure everything's run on the up and up. Let's just let them go back to doing whatever the hell they were doing so that they can make a ton of money. Their shareholders will be really thrilled with it.
Stock price has consistently gone up until recently when it's taken a pretty big dive.
Won't matter.
No.
Within Wells Fargo before the housing market crash. Her case in Baltimore leading to a $175 million settlement. Now, Jacobson is backing Gretchen's claim, saying this West Michigan mom isn't alone in her struggle.
You had this national mortgage settlement that the bank signed with the federal government, but there's been no enforcement.
A system that now, nearly a decade after the housing market crash, still spins out of control.
It seems to me that these attorneys that are foreclosing and these servicers just have this big gap in realizing that this is a person and it's somebody's house. This is their life.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. I mean, seriously.
No.
Yeah. People at those levels, in those positions, they don't care.
Right.
It's all about money.
Right.
Yeah, they're betting. I mean, they're betting both ways, and they win either way.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love making money, but man, I don't know how these people sleep at night.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't.
Right.
I mean, what do? There's nothing you can do.
Gretchen Malotke's whole life packed away in boxes, sitting in her nest egg that's set to break October 3rd.
If it were any other case, we would say we've got multiple smoking guns, but it hasn't seemed to matter.
Proof of payments, proof of insurance, lost in a twisted mess for nearly a decade.
I don't know how it can't matter. How a judge can't put some sort of stop injunction. I don't know. How that can't, none of the evidence.
Yeah.
It does any good.
A massive failure of the justice system, it appears.
What else is new?
Or something.
Gretchen, I started going through her records, and I actually got on phone calls with her to Wells Fargo.
Beth Jacobson, before the housing crisis, was Wells Fargo's top subprime mortgage producer.
You had to close 3 subprime loans per quarter, or per month every quarter, or you were fired.
Now fighting wrongful foreclosures across the nation, learning about Gretchen's dilemma about a year ago.
To this day, we don't know who owns her loan. who gave Wells Fargo authority to even foreclose.
We reached out to Wells Fargo about Gretchen's case and received this statement saying it's still an active litigation and had already been rejected by multiple courts. We also contacted U.S. Bank, who actively sought Gretchen's foreclosure. They pointed us back to Wells Fargo.
It's bang your head against the wall frustrating.
Then what appeared to be a glimmer of hope, contact from Wells Fargo requesting a mortgage payment. Could the foreclosure be fixed? The answer, no.
When someone buys the note at the sheriff's sale, the mortgage is extinguished.
Right.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yet, Wells Fargo not only requested payment after the sale, but accepted it.
You're allowed to steal?
They are so crooked.
Yeah, they are.
That
This is
remarkable.
The only way to react is for the market, individuals, to withdraw their confidence in that business.
Yeah.
On a mass scale, but that won't happen.
No.
And it should have happened, I mean, the story is awful, but it's just a needle in a haystack of apparently other awful things that this institution has done. And I'm not talking about local branches. That's unfortunate because there's probably local branches that are run fine.
Probably,
But the fact that they were actively opening accounts for other people. I just saw a piece about on Last Week Tonight about a guy that they kept opening accounts, and just like what Gretchen would do, he'd call and say, I need you to stop doing that. I didn't ask anyone to do that. He's getting late fees on accounts that he doesn't know the PIN for because he didn't know he had them.
Don't worry, something will be done.
And then the next day, boom.
Yeah,
more late fees.
That's the problem. Yeah, not only do we not fire anybody at the top, but they should be arrested.
Oh, you give her money.
They should be in jail.
You give her money and nothing else happens. Yeah, it is fraud, and you just ruined somebody's life.
Back to the story.
I thought we weren't allowed to steal here in the United States.
Gretchen and Beth crunched the numbers, finding upwards of $32,000 in lost payments.
It's unconscionable to think that a company whose job is to account for money has somehow lost $30,000.
Proof of ownership, missing payments, lost in a system that since the mortgage meltdown is supposed to have checks and balances to prevent things like this.
Yeah.
Jacobson says
a useless Justice Department.
It shouldn't only be the people at the top, though. It should be anyone who willingly has done anything like this, who knowingly did this or opened accounts. Sorry, man. I don't care if there was a lot of pressure on you or if you got a bonus for doing it. You go to jail, too. You did something wrong.
Right.
On the bright side, this should all change when President Clinton takes over.
It'll change no matter what. No matter who takes over.
I mean, either side, they both have our best interests at heart when it comes to big business and giant financial institutions.
Yeah.
Should all be good.
Look how it changed from 2008 to now.
Yeah.
Huge strides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mortgage crisis is gone.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again.
Man,
Everything's different.
Is clicking.
Yep. We're going to look out for the little guy now.
Gretchen joins us right now. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi.
How are you?
Morning.
I'm hanging in there. Good morning.
So you're a few days. This is awful.
Yeah.
Our heart goes out to you, first of all, and I think most of the audience does as well. None of us can honestly. After watching these two news stories and hearing you talk about it, I feel like I don't understand it. Like I must be missing something. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I took a very active approach to this when I realized they had, mistook my change in insurance policy.
Right.
And I called them right away, and so did my agent, and so did someone from their corporate office, and we faxed all of the documentation. And believe me, I did this multiple times.
Right. Yeah.
So they're well aware of it, and it just spirals out of control. And I'm not the only one.
No.
But if I do, hopefully this will make case precedent if I can prevail.
Oh, sure.
Everything, for everybody else, because people don't know what's really going on.
Gretchen, can you, and I don't know if you even will be able to, but can you explain to us what has happened when this has gone to court before? How does the evidence because it sounds like you're someone who does their diligence. You keep your records. You have probably had the people from your insurance office testify or have affidavits or whatever to show that you did everything right.
Right.
How does that get thrown out by a judge?
I don't really even understand that. All I can say is that our district courts are not even aware or have time to realize what the laws are. What our country has put in protections, what the Supreme Court has said. They don't listen to them. I don't know why.
So you feel like is it that the courts are ignoring the law, or the laws are written so poorly that Wells Fargo manages to zing it through a loophole?
The laws are probably
the district courts are just not equipped. They're just not knowledgeable enough about it.
Yeah, they just don't want to waste. It's so burdensome on the courts that I think they just broom it.
They probably know it's a losing battle because the laws are probably written to benefit banks or the big guy.
Well, Michigan's consumer protection law does not do anything for us.
Well, that's good.
Federal, as we all know, are separate. Yeah. And believe it or not, even one of our local congressmen, representatives, wrote a letter on my behalf to have this looked at by the Department of Treasury, and Wells Fargo did have to respond to that, and the response, they completely said things that were not true, said that they refunded my money. Sorry for any inconvenience. That's after they foreclosed.
It's crazy.
And you didn't get it. You didn't get any money back.
Actually, 2 years into the fight, we finally received the documents from Wells Fargo, and actually we found that $30,000 of my mortgage that I had paid in was moved around to cover their force-placed insurance, and they got that refund back, but they never refunded it back to me. Of course, at this point, anybody else in this fight would have been long gone, evicted out of their home.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been hanging on by the grace of God and trying to get this, exposed.
Yeah.
But when you lie to it, like the Office of, the Comptroller of the Currency, and you state that, we refunded her money, here's the check number, that was brought into court.
Yeah.
I don't know how they cannot see that this is fraudulent, and I've just got to keep on. I've got to keep the faith that I can get this. The right person will see this, or the judge will realize this, because it's not only going to help me. Like I said, it'll help
a lot of people.
Oh yeah, you can only imagine how many cases have been bungled by this idiotic institution.
Right. Well, and
if it's happened to you, it's probably hundreds, maybe thousands of people.
It's it's terrible. I mean, this destroys families. This causes divorces. People get sick and die.
Sure. Mm-hmm. It's incredible amount of stress.
It's ruined my life, and I can't even. It's ruined my credit. I didn't have a credit issue. It's totally ruined my credit. Everything you have is in this fight. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Gretchen, can I ask? So, is it at this point too late to keep the house no matter what?
No. We have filed a motion for reconsideration to Judge Jonas.
Okay.
In hopes that she will reconsider. Documentation was sent to my attorney, and they addressed it. They had the wrong address from court. All these little mishaps happen. And, if you can imagine, you can just ask my attorney. I am on top of this. I mean, I'm not letting anything fall through the cracks for us. But as far as, when the court or the attorneys misaddress something to the other attorney and we don't get it, I mean, there's things like that happen that you just wouldn't even believe.
Right.
This is a nightmare, and
this feels like a movie plot.
It does. It really does.
It reminds me of The Rainmaker. It's silly to compare it, but where the whole insurance agency that was the villain, so to speak, in that movie, where everything about their corporation was set up to cause people to give up after they would deny their claims regardless of whether or not they were meritorious. Now, obviously, that's a fictional story, but it feels like you are the protagonist in one of those films.
I wouldn't say it's completely
There's
fictional.
so much more that hasn't come out. You know, obviously, you only have a certain amount of time, and so do all the other reporters that have interviewed me. Thanks to Cassandra and Fox 17, one of the fraud investigators reached out to them, and they had called my attorney, Paul Lutford, and myself. And otherwise, it's got to get out there because there's no way that this is just unbelievable. I mean, this happens to a lot of people. And it's, I don't know how I'm keeping myself together.
Yeah.
But how can you get away with lying to the Department of Treasury and a congressman in a letter and say, oh, we refunded her money, and then they didn't. They completely lied. I mean, you see Wells Fargo in the news all the time.
This seems... I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it seems like if they have this check number, then at some point there would be proof that it was cashed.
Yep.
And the money, they would be able to provide that paper trail.
Right. Of
to
course
me, it seems
a trail, but...
I did that. I actually, it was the day I was walking into court, I had called Jennifer Clute from Wells Fargo, who sent the letter, the presidential office. I said, I'm walking into court right now, and I need copies of that check that I supposedly signed, or you need to retract your statement. You need to retract it to my congressman. You need to retract it to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and the Department of Treasury immediately. And boy, did she fax a letter. Sorry, we made a mistake, and sorry for any inconvenience.
Okay.
You're taking my home. So to add insult to injury, I just forwarded a copy to you guys. I have 4 claims that was forwarded to me of the class action lawsuit that is being awarded because of the force-placed insurance that they found that they made an error. It's a class action suit. And I have 4 claims on that were forwarded to me. Whoopee. How is that going to get me my house back when you made this error? Plus, where's my $30,000?
Yeah, that
so
too.
And my decade.
But the legal...
every month.
The justice system is really letting you down, and they need to be working for you. And I don't understand why they're not, why this is all going on, and why it seems to be such a difficult thing.
My house is paid off with the money that I have paid into the court that they have released to Trot and Trot to release to Wells Fargo, and we don't even know who owns my house. Now, Fannie Mae, they sent me a 1099 and said Fannie Mae owned it. Well, I think Fannie Mae only does originating loans. Mm-hmm. They don't buy loans at a foreclosure sale, to my knowledge. And I think to Beth's knowledge as well. So I'd like an answer for that. And
it seems so shady.
It is. Well, that's what happens when, all the politicians and people in the Treasury and everybody else gets all their elections paid for by giant companies like Wells Fargo.
Wow.
It is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So October 3rd is the day that technically you have to be out if nothing changes. Is that correct?
Yep. The eviction is signed for October 3rd. They tried to do this on the 21st of December, 2015
that's
as
right.
well.
Yeah.
And had stated to Judge Susan Jonas signed a form that Trot had sent to her that I had not paid any money into my escrows into the court, because at this point I'm paying $2,200 into the court. They're holding this money. They're releasing it to Trot and Trot to give to Wells Fargo. Plus, Wells Fargo called me last year and said, "Well, we didn't foreclose on you. You can start making your payments." So I'm sending them payments last year.
So was that when that happened?
So they
did you think
foreclose it, so you're sending money for literally no reason? Because they have foreclosed.
Well, then they said they didn't. So it's a definite mix-up. So then, obviously this is all caught up into court. And, then Wells Fargo says, well, we don't know. We made a mistake. Hold on. Let us send you some information in the mail.
Please send me a pamphlet.
No, that'll get right here. Yeah,
this is pathetic.
Yeah. So they accepted, payment from me last August. The court's getting payments that they're releasing. Per the consent order. I mean, we all saw that. If if a bank accepts somebody's payment and they are set to foreclose, that reinstates your mortgage. So the court's releasing how much money to them. You know, they have over probably, the court will have released over $100,000 approximately on the 3rd of October. My house is paid off.
Yeah. At least that's the way
Literally.
it makes sense. And of course, Wells Fargo worth $1.48 trillion.
Yeah.
So they can stonewall as long as they
What
want.
a terrible thing to happen have happened to you.
At least nobody in the Justice Department or Treasury Department would go the extra mile to look into it, given that Wells Fargo has such a clean record of late.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Right. I mean,
you know,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Gretchen.
We have no incentive to really do anything, Wells Fargo. Every house that they get fined, the fine is approximately half a penny.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like the fine that they just had for faking all those different accounts. You know, it was what,
185
million, which you just said they're worth 1.8 trillion.
Victims too.
You also had
kidding.
multiple accounts opened on your behalf that you didn't authorize as part of.
You need money. You need a lot of money, and you need it from them. And I hope that a class action lawsuit will provide you with that cash, because this can't just happen.
They don't work that way, but you know,
They don't?
I just want my house. You know, it's just like everybody does that goes through this. They want the truth, and they want, you know, our laws are put in place to protect us. Why do we have to? I mean, do you know how much money this is?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to prove your innocence. They should have to prove guilt, not the other way around.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's not what's happening. You have to prove your innocence, and that's ridiculous.
Well, Gretchen, our heart goes out to you. We wish you. I hope you win. I will be so excited if you win.
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think the more word gets out there, the more awareness it'll be for myself, and maybe the courts will reconsider it, and hopefully that will also change it for a lot of others.
This is a story that needs to be told on a national level, like a Dateline or 2020 or something.
You need to chain yourself to your house or something. Something grandiose to get these news people in there.
I'll tell you what.
But maybe the Fox people. Sometimes other stations do pick that stuff up.
Well, they're busy talking about Miss Universe from 1990.
Yeah,
because that's the most important thing. Is
I know
this Donald Trump was mean to a beauty pageant queen.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Donald could put some pressure on somebody.
Well, he's big at real estate.
Yeah. Are you kidding? He's waiting to pick your house up.
Yeah.
He's on it.
For low money.
Yeah.
Gretchen, good luck.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Good luck, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
so much.
Our
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Gretchen Malaki of Zeeland. Her house is, it
feels
sure feels like it's
so
completely being stolen.
Bad for her.
Not to mention the rest of the money she's spent trying to keep it.
Man.
And I could see where after you got a little bit down the rabbit hole where you'd be like, well, I can't quit now.
Yeah.
I'm right.
Well, and the maddening thing is half the time, the mortgage company you end up with isn't the one you signed up with in the first place.
No, I've gone through 3.
Yeah, they sell it.
You just get letters in the mail that say, "Hey, you're now with Chase."
You're not. You're not with Citizens Bank anymore. You're with this group. Oh, and now you're not with that group anymore. Now you're with this group.
Yeah. Do you have to do anything? No. They just have it. They've got your account info. It'll continue to be taken out of your account, your bank account.
Yeah,
So,
and you hope, and you hope, and you assume that everything's going to go fine.
yeah.
And I think most of the time it does.
Yeah.
I mean, for most people, I don't know anybody else is going through exactly what she is, but you know that there are plenty of people dotted around America who are going through that, even if it's not, a ton of people in one specific area.
Yeah.
She's not the only one. It's impossible that she's the only one when you're dealing with a behemoth like that. And, it's easy to put yourself into her shoes and just go, my God, I mean, that could happen to me or you or anybody else
Right.
where you're doing all the right things and then, you find out, I haven't. What do you mean you haven't gotten my payments in 3 years? Wait, what are you talking about?
My bank account says you have.
Yeah, no, I've been sending.
No, we haven't, and that's it. And that's just how it is. We have not. We're taking your house.
Yeah, it shows that I paid you. Well,
that
we
would
didn't
never
get it.
work the other way around.
No, of course
where
not.
the consumer could say, I did pay,
Yeah.
No, you really are forced to prove your own innocence, which is BS. It should not be that way.
But it is that way.
But it is.
I mean, really, it probably always has been. Mm-hmm. It's just been a kind of a tale.
Well, because the problem is they can prove that you're guilty because they just have whatever dumb, fabricated, idiotic documents they have within their, labyrinth of computers and networks.
Right.
Well, look, right here, there's proof. It says she didn't pay.
Right.
Oh, well, all right.
How does that...
Well, I mean, how am I supposed to fight that?
Yeah, how does that win over the amount of money from her account that...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be pretty easy to track that down.
Ugh.
But,
disgusting.
That's us.
Days of the new Touch, Peel, and Stand. 97.9 GRD Rocks.